Hey guys, welcome back. First of all, yes, I am filming in a new location. In case you missed it, James and I moved over this past weekend, so this room that you're seeing is my new beauty room. I am still in the process of unpacking, so I'm sorry for the less than cute background and like the boxes and everything behind me. Just excuse that for the time being. I promise by the next time I film, I will have it sorted out. Also, it is like excruciatingly hot out today, so if I look like I'm sweating and my hair looks like it's frizzy, it's because I am, and it is. But anyways, today's video is going to be on the brand new Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. A couple days ago, this little bad boy right here debuted online, so naturally the internet is going crazy just like every single time Urban Decay releases a new naked palette. I did just receive this collection yesterday, so this video is going to be more of a first impressions sneak peek kind of video and also some launch date information as well. I am going to focus mostly on the palette because let's face it, that's what you guys are here to learn about, but they did also come out with 3 new shades of Vice lipsticks and then 2 new shades of their 24/7 Glide On eye pencils to go with this collection. So I will quickly touch on these items. I'll swatch the liners and do some lip swatches and try on the lipsticks for you as well. And of course, I am going to swatch the palette in its entirety in this video. I am wearing this collection today. I tried it out for the first time this morning. So if you want to see a tutorial and see how the shadows and everything perform, be sure to stay tuned to the very end for a quick little voiceover tutorial. One last thing before we jump in, if you are new to my channel, my next video going up after this is going to be a gigantic makeup giveaway. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, but let's go ahead and jump into the details. So let's go ahead and talk launch dates. If you want to be the very first person to get this palette, on June 12th there will be a 1-day flash pre-sale for this collection on the Urban Decay website, and then on June 30th the collection will launch permanently and officially on their site as well. And then on July 12th this collection will launch in Sephora. And if you're Canadian like me, you want to use your optimum points for it, it'll be in Shoppers Drug Mart on August 17th. All of those dates will be in the description bar down below, so mark your calendars, people. So the palette is very similar to all of the other naked palettes. It's going to retail for $54 USD or $66 Canadian, same as the other 4, and it does come with 12 shades. Layout is very similar, and then you do get the classic double-ended eyeshadow brush. The packaging on this one is similar to the Naked Smoky. It's got that kind of like plastic casing. I'm reading off my computer here, but they're describing this palette as having amber-hued neutrals, including warm browns, burnt oranges, and rich siennas. Half of the shadows in this palette are matte, which I absolutely love. You get a ton of blending shades. This is definitely a palette you'll be able to create a full look with, and I also feel like it will be very universally flattering. So naturally there has been a lot of mixed feelings about this palette on the online beauty community. I've seen a lot of people saying they're kind of over it. They feel like the warm tone shadows thing is kind of overdone, and there's been so many other palettes kind of similar to this, which I totally get. A lot of brands have released kind of similar palettes with similar color schemes over the past year or so, but for me, I personally love warm tone shadows and warm tone neutrals, so I am like, bring it on. I am all over this palette. I love oranges, I love warm browns, I love terracottas, rose golds, coppers, purples. So this palette is pretty ideal for me personally, and I do see myself getting a lot of use out of it. Lots of really complementary shades to green eyes, which is my eye color. Now I do own Naked 1, 2, and 3. The only one I don't own is Naked Smoky. Until now, I think my favorite has been the Naked 3 palette. The big difference with this one is when it comes to the Urban Decay Naked palettes, there's never really been much selection for those of us who do like warm shadows. Some of the other Naked palettes do have a few warm shades sprinkled in, but they lean very predominantly neutral to like full-on cool undertones in comparison to Naked 3, because that would be the most similar technically, though they're not really that close. Naked 3 is more kind of like mauvey and definitely more cool tone once again. So if you love warm shadows like I do, there is finally a Naked palette that I think you will love. Now let's go ahead and start some swatches. I am going to do some close-up clips here so you guys can see exactly how they swatch and the colors and everything. I'm going to do 4 at a time, and then I will include a shot of all 12 shades together so you can see it as one cohesive product. I did swatch these for the first time this morning before I did my makeup, and I have to say they swatch really nicely with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 shades, but even those shades aren't like terrible or anything like that. In comparison to the other Naked palettes, I would say they're a little bit creamier and a little bit more pigmented when you swatch them, especially with the matte shades. And when I swatch all these shades, I'm not like digging in. I do kind of like 1, 2, 3 to pick up the shadow, and then I just do like one straight swipe. I'm not like going on there and like scrubbing it into my skin, you know? So the first 4 shades in this palette are very much like your fundamentals. You get like a nice light shimmery champagne, really great for the brow bone, inner corner, or all over the lid if you're going for a more light look. And then you get 3 matte brown kind of shades, so great for building up that crease and blending. All of these swatch quite well. One thing I think especially you will notice when I am doing my tutorial towards the end is these shadows are quite powdery. A lot of kick up comes up when you're dipping your brush into the pan. Not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, to me at least, that might drive some of you guys absolutely crazy. To me, these kind of remind me of the Lorac shadows. They're very smooth and creamy. Not the most creamy shadows ever, but they're also not dry at all. But they swatch really nice. They're really pigmented, but you get a lot of kick up, similar to the Lorac shadows. Using these on the eyes, they are really buildable and they blend really well. Moving on to the next 4 shadows in the center. In my opinion, these 4 shadows are definitely the standout of the palette. When I swatched them this morning, I was like completely home alone. I swatched them and literally out loud, I was like, oh damn, those are really nice. Like the pigment is really impressive on these guys. Once again, fairly powdery, and when I was applying them, the shimmer shades do have a fair bit of fallout. I feel like that's just kind of to be expected. I don't know many shadows that have like 0 fallout. When it comes to like packing on a shimmery or metallic kind of shadow onto my lid, I pretty much always use a glitter glue, or I wet my brush beforehand, but for the sake of first impressions trying this out, I didn't today. Yeah, I'm in love with these 4 shadows. This is where you start to get those rose gold and copper and terracotta kind of tones, and as you will see for the swatches, I think they will speak for themselves. Now moving into the last 4 shades of the palette, we have got 3 matte shadows and then 1 kind of metallic. This final metallic shadow is really pretty and really unique. It's kind of like a deep mocha brown, like a metallic shade, but then it's got this kind of like pinky ambery shift to it. It's very unique and very stunning. I do find these 3 mattes just like ever so slightly patchy, but it's very minor. Once again, nothing where I would consider it like a huge drawback from the palette or anything like that. They were slightly difficult to blend, especially Cayenne and En Fuego, which I think once again you'll see in the tutorial, but I could still totally make them work. Like they weren't overly difficult or anything like that. I just think these would probably be the weaker shadows from this palette. They are still like stunningly pigmented though and beautiful shades. I would just say to be a little bit more careful when you're applying these guys, because as I started to build them up in my crease, I did find it a little bit more difficult to blend when working with these darker shades. So those were the kind of individual swatches. I kind of want to let those speak for themselves. That was the biggest thing. I posted like pictures of this palette on Snapchat and everything, and everyone was like, please do swatches, because I've seen kind of mixed things, so I'm gonna let them do the talking and everything. I think they swatch pretty well, to be honest. I was pleasantly surprised with how creamy and pigmented they are, especially once again in comparison to some of the past Naked palettes, which have been a little bit drier. So that was an overview on the new Naked Heat palette. Before we jump into the tutorial and my final thoughts, I do want to touch on the lipsticks and the eyeliners briefly once again. I'm really just going to be swatching all of these shades. I'm not going to go into too much depth about the formula or the prices or anything like that, because these are already existing products, just new shades. Especially with these eye pencils, they have been around forever, so I'm sure a lot of you guys are already familiar. So the 2 new liner shades are called Torch and Alkaline. Torch is like a burnt terracotta orange, and then Alkaline is more of a mid-tone warm purple with like a hint of mauve to it. It swatches a little bit patchy for the purple shade, but I did apply it to my waterline and a little bit on my lower lash line today, and it applied fine. And then for the 3 Vice lipsticks, I love the packaging on these guys. Once again, I'm a sucker for anything like copper or rose gold, and they are in a metallic copper casing instead of Urban Decay's usual like gunmetal gray. And there is 2 metallized finishes and 1 cream finish. So the first shade is the cream, and it is called Fuel. This is what I am wearing on my lips today. These are just a really nice kind of standard cream lipstick. I do have it on with a little bit of a lip liner here. I just outlined my lips with a little bit of the Bite Lip Pencil in shade 20, and it is a really great match. I will insert like a shot here of me applying it without lip liner so you guys can see what it really looks like. I would describe this shade as like a warm peachy beige nude. Once again, if you know me, this shade is right up my alley. I think it's actually really similar to Melted Chocolate Milkshake from Too Faced, I believe. And they are very opaque as well. I do own a couple other cream lipsticks from the Vice range, and they cover up my natural lip color really well. So then for the metallized shades, these are Heat and Scorch. For their metallized lipsticks, they aren't like a full-on metallic, and they're also not frosted either. They're kind of more like a high shine kind of finish with a little bit of shimmer kind of dusted through them. I'm personally not a huge fan of metallic or frosted lips on me, but I don't mind these. The one thing with these is they do start off a little bit more sheer, as you will see. Scorch is a very warm orangey bronze with a golden shimmer, and then Heat is just kind of a classic red with a fine golden shimmer. Really comfortable on the lips, still not like gritty or glittery at all. The shimmer is very fine. So those are all of the new products from the Urban Decay Naked Heat collection. I think I went over everything I wanted to cover, but let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. I just showed the eyeshadow in this tutorial, by the way, but if you want to see how I achieve this look and get some inspiration for like looks you can do with this palette, then just go ahead and keep on watching. So I've already primed and set my lids just like I always do. Moving into the eyeshadow, I'm starting off by taking the shades Chaser and Sauced and blending this into my crease to act as my transition shade. To build up that crease a little bit more, I am taking the shade He Devil on a smaller blending brush and applying this a little bit more precisely to my crease area. You might be able to see when I started blending my right eye, I picked up way too much product and I did have a little bit of issues blending it, but it turned out okay. Then I'm taking the shade En Fuego and I'm just applying this to the very outer edge of my lid and crease. For my lid, I'm applying the shade Lumbre or Lumbre and just packing this onto the inner half of the lid, and this is where you will start to see I experienced some fallout. And then for the outer portion of my lid, I'm applying the shade Dirty Talk, and same kind of situation here. I got quite a bit of fallout from this shade. And then I went ahead and blended everything out with my big fluffy brush, and I applied just a simple black wing and some mascara. For my lower lash line, I mixed together the shades Sauced and Low Blow, though I mostly used Low Blow, and I just smudged this onto my lower lash line with a pencil brush. And I also applied their Alkaline 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil to my waterline and just a little bit on the very outer edge of my lash line too, and I smudged that out with my pencil brush as well. And I finished off the eyes by highlighting my brow bone and the inner corner of my eye with the shade Ounce. That is the look I created. I'm actually very happy with how it turned out, which isn't always the case when you're using a palette for the very first time, but I would definitely do this exact same look again, and hopefully that gave you a better idea of how these shadows are actually going to apply and perform and everything. If you're curious about any of the other products on my face, my bronzer, blush, highlight, everything like that, it'll all be in the description bar down below. So to sum up, my first impressions of this collection are actually really fantastic. I love the shade selection, I love the lip products, the eyeshadows are easy to work with, they blend well, they apply well. In my opinion, I'm very happy all around, and I can definitely, like I said, see this becoming my new favorite naked palette, and I know I'm going to be using this a lot this month and probably for a very long time because these shades are honestly just like right up my alley. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and found it helpful in deciding whether or not you're going to pick up this palette or any of these items when the collection launches. Once again, everything you need to know will be in the description bar down below, but give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. I am at Sarah Rihanna on all three. And once again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below because I've got that huge giveaway coming up, but I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye guys.